Last week we made the molds for these 3 items. This week we're going to cut those molds open, pour some resin, see what we get. Stick around, it should be fun. We've got some molds to cut, let's get to it. Start with the simplest one because this is a really straightforward cut. Should not be complicated. See how we do. Shouldn't be complicated, and it wasn't complicated. All right, here's our little base. That is the base of our pour funnel. So let's begin. Let's see if we can't pop that out of there. I don't know, might be stuck on there pretty good. Let's see, nope, pop it right out. That helps us, because that tells us where our funnel is and where our sprue is. And those are our landmarks that we need for cutting this boy. And what we always do, so we always start, look for the vent. The vent in this case was very short. Not gonna go very far till we hit that part. In fact, it's right there. Okay, let's see if we can pull this funnel out. I always like to pull the funnel out if I can. Yep, broke it off from where it connected, so that's good. Now we really can see where we're going. We cut jagged in here, jagged in here, and nice and clean at the part. Okay, cut down. Let's find the edge of the part there. Okay, now see if you can see it. You see that little bridge in there? So see how I'm stretching that bridge? That's the hole in the top. See that bridge of rubber? Can you see that? Can you guys see that? Let's see if I can get you to see that. See that bridge of rubber in there? Down in there? Beautiful. That's what we're looking for. You stretch that across. This is how you deal with holes. And you stretch it, and then you cut it. Boom. And now you've cut it in the middle. You haven't cut it on one side. You've actually, because you stretched it, cut it in the middle. And it's beautiful. It's one of the real secrets to cut molds. I'm going to do the exact same thing here. See that bridge of rubber that's crossing between? If I stretch it like this, stretch it open. Let me see if I can cut down further so I can stretch it even more. Okay, it's going to stretch enough. Cut it jagged. Cutting the bridge jagged so that the bridge parts will interlock with one another when you put it back together. Okay, I successfully cut through that part. Now we can keep going down the side. Just keep going on down the side and working on our way down. See how I went in the wrong direction there for a minute and corrected? That does not matter at all because that's not touching anything on the model. So that's not going to cause any problems. That's one reason why you could be a little bit less afraid of cut molds. See how I cut through that hole? Right there, cut in the half right there and cut through this hole. And the pieces just fall together. Super nice. All right, one mold done. All right, let's move along to this one. This box was just held together with wax, so we should just be able to pop it apart. Pretty easy, like that. Come on, baby. There you go. There you go. Good old beeswax doing its job. Now, if we did everything right, that should come apart easily. Oh yeah, it came apart. Let's see if this made a good clean casting, shall we? Come on out of there. Very interesting if it's going to be difficult to pull that out. There it goes. Okay. Oh yeah. How it's a little bit rough and a little bit shaggy. Well, that's capturing all that micro fine detail of the 3D print. The 3D print is not smooth, and so you're not going to get a smooth mold. Silicone rubber is just genius for capturing every bit of the detail. Now, here, let's cut this off. Because this was a two-piece mold, I ran the parting line around the edge, and boy, it's pretty darn clean. It's not bad. This is the parting line, so it's going to have a very clean surface. This little guy will need some cutting, but that's no big deal. Just go in here and trim out the funnel where the rubber got in between the funnel and the wall. Ooh, caught a bubble in the, got a bubble up there where it doesn't matter. I'll take it. If I'm gonna catch a bubble, I'd rather catch one right there than somewhere else, somewhere critical where it's gonna hurt the part. That's not gonna hurt the part at all. Now this mold can only go back together one way, and that's like this. And it's too floppy to cast. See how, if we put rubber bands on it, it would just distort and stuff, so we're gonna build a little cradle for it. I think we're ready to go. I think we're gonna get a good cast out of this, but I don't wanna brag yet. Let's see. Ooh, boy, those are some micro hairy little hairs. Those will be cleaned out by the first castings. Okay, good. Put this together and we'll move forward. Have to do trimming like this, of course. Do some trimming. We did the two easy molds. Let's do the one that's a little more work. This one is going to give us a little bit more of a challenge, I think. Let's cut this thing open. See what happens. Can I peel it? Oh yeah, nice flat bottom. That's a good start. I tell you what, this is why I worship the ground that beeswax walks on, let me tell you. Oh yeah, love that beeswax, boy. So nice. Now, for the challenge, this thing is going to be interesting. That is for sure. This has a very complex and unlikely cut pattern. And so we're going to have to find that cut pattern. And that is for sure. So we're going to go slow. We're going to take our time. I'm stalling here because I have to think about this cut pattern, as it's not just a straight down the barrel cut. Point that I'm going to make with this mold is cut molds can go in all different directions. And they do. They don't just go in one direction. They can crisscross. You can cut all different ways in a cut mold, and it still works. The mold still works. Cut down that perfectly. Cutting down that sprue. I want to find the edge of that form. It's right there. Ooh, I got it. Now I'm going to cut through. I won't do it just yet. I want you guys to see it. Okay. Don't know. Can you see what I'm pulling through there? I'm cutting this window. Again, it's a hole, and it's right there. I'm going to cut through it. Can't cut through it perfectly. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm cutting the flange of this piece, and I want to make sure I'm cutting right down it. Just right. It's always hard to begin a cut mold. This is the scariest part. This is the part where everybody freaks out and loses their mind and goes insane, gets bummed out, thinks they can't do it. This is the part that scares everybody. But then, once you get it going, it goes pretty good. Cutting ragged away from the part, clean at the part. Cutting down, cutting down, cutting down. Now, I only want to cut down to about halfway. If the genius of a cut mold is you have small parting lines. Now for the fun. We've cut in this direction, and that's fine, but we have to cut the mold open this way. And I have to start by cutting like this and just cut it open. We want to cut down those vents. And this is tricky in the beginning. It's always tricky. This is where people resort to all kinds of tools and spreaders and weird things. But I generally don't. I generally feel like I can get it going well enough that I can open the mold. without resorting to trickery and surgical tools and weird spreaders and all kinds of stuff that people resort to on cut molds. But this one's a hard one because I don't have a surface to get a hold of. The shape is difficult. So I may be forced to eat my words and resort to some mechanical spreaders. Usually for me, that's just some blocks, little blocks of wood. Keep cutting down, cutting down, cutting down. The more I cut down, the more I can open it. Okay, slow but sure, I am making progress on this boy. You just have to stay with it. Now I'm getting to the point where I can really start to spread it open and see inside there. And once you're at that point, you're golden, because now you can cut. Now you just follow down the cuts. Keep pulling the vents out. Now we're basically opening the thing up now. There we go. Now I cut down to the part. Well, that wasn't that fun. Okay, now, that was a laugh riot, but I got it. And the part is undamaged. Now let's see if this thing is going to do what it was advertised to do. And that is come apart in this direction. I may have to cut more. I may have to cut more around this circumference. Like that. And maybe a little more around this circumference. The less I cut, the fewer parting lines I have, but okay. Let's see if it's going to come out. It looks like it's going to come out. Can we get it? Without cutting even more. I might have to cut even more. Wowee. All right. We're going to cut as much as we have to cut. Ooh, that popped out of there. How about that? Wow. Okay. Now, can we pop this out? Probably. This thing's a war. This is complicated. A lot simpler to make a simpler part, but this is the fun of this stuff, is can we do it? Can we get it? We should be able to, actually. Oh yeah, I think we will. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I have full confidence. There we go. Whew. Well, that was fun. Yeah, but look at that thing close back up, boy. Woohoo, yeah. Look at that mold. What a killer, huh? Look at that thing. That's a one-piece mold, but look at the complexity of it. And look at the genius of me. This knobby locks right into the middle, and that's what's going to hold this hole tight and straight. That's what's going to keep the mold, when it closes together in there, this part can't be wobbling around. It's going to lock into the other part and hold it. And here you can see how I cut the window right in half right there and right in there. Oh my God. I got to tell you, not going to lie, that was a struggle. This cut here was a struggle, but I went down the vents just fine, and they're going to lock together just fine, and this is going to close together, and I'll bet you money we're going to make a casting out of this. I will bet you money right now that we're going to be golden. That this silly mold is going to make good castings of that complex part. Well, I ain't going to boast until it's time, and I've done it, and then I can declare myself a winner. Not until then can I declare myself a winner. Beautiful. It is time to clean our desk and make some castings. Before we can pour resin, we have got to make some cradles. Just a couple simple little cradles. And to that end, I cut some little blocks of wood, square blocks of wood, saved you the pain and suffering of having to watch me cut out blocks of wood, break out the 5-minute epoxy, keep the 5-minute in the cup because there's not much left in the jars. So I keep it nozzled down, which I think is most effective. Try to get out a reasonably equal amount, as always. Let's mix. Just using 5-minute because it's quick and easy, it's fast, it's strong, it's gonna work. Let's do this one first, because what I like to do is I like to put the glue onto the part like that, and then I like to put the part that it's going to glue to, put the glue on that, like that, and then not assemble them for a couple of minutes. We'll assemble them when the glue gets really tacky. Set those over there. Same with this. Put this on. Now this we'll do a little different. Put the glue on. Nice wad of glue. Gonna have plenty. Same with this side. Nice wad. A 5-minute. Okay. And then, simple enough matter, glue the pieces together. These I can clamp. Break out the little bitty quick clamps. I love these quick grip clamps. Use them constantly for everything. Greatest clamps in the universe. And we'll get that just clamped on. Just like that. That's done. We'll let that set up. My table caught the overflow. Don't care. We'll let that get tacky. And then we'll assemble this. It's fairly tacky. It's not super tacky. I do want to make sure that it's reasonably square and straight on there. It's not the space shuttle, let's be real, but that's pretty good. All right, that is the sum total of the work that we are going to put into cradle building. The cradles are done, and we are ready to put on bands. So let's get organized here, get everything together, and let's throw some rubber bands on these. This is always the fun part. Let's begin by putting rubber bands around the perimeter of this boy, around the circle. Now the bands I'm putting on here are going to hold it together this way. Recall, this one has a cut across this way, so we need squeezing pressure this way, and you can see that. See that, how that's opening? So we're squeezing that closed going this way with our bands. Okay, so we've got those on there. Got a wicked hair from a brush. Again, I'm going to look for them, make sure they're nice and closed up. Just looking at them, making sure. Okay, now we want to close it in the other direction. To do that, I have a couple of little blocks here because I want to put pressure in the middle. I don't just want pressure at the corners, pulling at the corners. I want the pressure here in the middle, the long way, so that I get pressure all across. Always looking for that even pressure across the parting line. And I know that it's more trouble. And in the early part of my career, I didn't bother with all this extra stuff. I just put rubber bands all around the rubber. No extra pieces like I'm doing here, nothing like that. And I always wondered why I didn't get consistent results. You know, sometimes they came out great. Sometimes, you know, I couldn't figure out why some parts of the mold were all nicely held together and they're really tight and there was no flash and it was beautiful. And other parts of the mold, there was lots of flash and it just didn't close up correctly. And I couldn't figure out why that was. As my compressor just kicked on. So I'm looking carefully all around the mold, seeing if I can get it to close up. I watch the outer parting lines always to see that I'm getting the closure that I want. And I'm willing to put as many bands on as I need to kind of pull the thing closed. All right, now this should just sit just like that in the cradle. Wouldn't mind if that jammed in there a little tighter. So let's see if I can wad some rubber bands in there just to get that to sit in there a little bit tighter, like that. Yeah, there. That'll hold it. That's not going anywhere. That one's ready to go. That was the most complex one. Let's do the second most complex one. They fit together like this. Let's close them up. Put this on the cradle. And again, wooden top. The whole point to the wooden top, just distribute the holding pressure. Nice and even. Nice and even across the whole thing. This one is a simple one. Should be very easy to close. A flat, simple parting line. Not complex. So this should be a simple matter of a couple of bands. How are we doing? See, I have a flat parting line, so it's just easy. So the take home is, I'm putting time and energy into getting this even bandage around the mold, because that results in the most consistently closed parting line. Mold number 3. Very simple and easy to do this. Now, this one's easy. The only trick here is the bands are too big. And simple enough solution to that, make them smaller. And you do that by tying them into knots. Just like that. Easy peasy, no work. I burn a lot of bands that way. I don't necessarily reuse rubber bands unless I can, unless they're unscathed by the process. But if I chew them up in the process, that's okay. They're dirt cheap. They're not the expensive part of this process. The expensive part of the process is resin. And when your castings don't come out well, you are wasting a lot of resin. And boy, is that painful. That's all this wants. We are at long last on this project ready to pour some resin. Let's go do it. I mixed up a 40-gram batch of B and A resin, and let's get it mixed and stirred so that we can get this thing poured. See what this first pour is going to look like. So let's just dump it. It should just fill it. And it did. And it's coming right up the flue. So let's see. Okay, that filled. Let's see if we have enough for this. Looks like we're going to get them both. Looks like that filled up perfectly. I'm rocking and rolling. I don't see any bubbles rising. Okay, and they go. Perfect. Perfect fit. Everything's beautiful. Close the tank outlet. Looks like it's sealed up. I pulled these 2 molds out of the tank and they're ready to go. The witness cup is telling me that it's pretty hard and ready to go, but both of these parts have really thin sections, thin sections. And boy, are they going to be floppy when they come out of the molds. So let's pour the F-Cancer ribbon first in this mold, and then when it's ready to go, we will take them all out together. How about that? Let me go mix up some resin. Quick, quick, quick. All right, I mixed up a batch of red, and let's do this thing. Let's mix. Just want to make sure you thoroughly mix your resin. You don't want any uncured resin. A lot of people mix it, then pour it into another cup, but I just don't bother. I generally mix it enough to be confident that I've got a good mix. Let's pour it. This should just be a dump. There should not be any problems dump pouring this. And it's coming right up to the top. I'm going to jiggy, see if I get any bubblage. I'm getting no bubblage whatsoever. Let's fill it. So we hook those 2 together, fill it up to the top. Very nice. We got some leftover. Let's pour our little funnels. Oh, I did get a little bubble there coming up out of there. All right. Okay. I'll take it. Okay. Let's pour this into here. Make an extra funnel. I got 2 of them. This is why I keep these little funnel cups handy dandy and around. That way you wind up wasting less extra. It's better to have parts you can use, this and that. Let's get this into the tank. Away we go. Let's run it on over there. Okay, I pulled this out of the tank. It is, oh yeah, rock hard, ready to go. Even this, all right. Let's see, what do we want to pull out first? We got some things to demold here. What shall we do? I'll tell you what, let's do these little guys first, because we don't care about these. We know they're going to come out, even though they didn't get any pressure. More funnels to add to the funnel collection. Very good. Let's do this one. Let's do this one, because I have the highest degree of confidence that this one will come out good. Now watch, it's going to make a liar out of me and it's going to be a total mess, but I think it should be okay. Let's see, look at that. Look at that thing coming out of there. Very nice. Can you see that? Isn't that nice? Look at that. There you go. All right, so let's pull this out of there. Oh yeah. How do we do? Everything's perfect, not a bubble in sight. This one was very straightforward. You can see both holes just cast perfectly. No problems at all. And if you could see much of a parting line, you'd see the parting line down in there in the middle of the hole. Perfect, worked out great. No worries at all. No bubbles, perfect casting. Nice. Okay, that's that one. Let's do this one. This is the next simplest. Let's see what we get. Did we get a clean casting? Who knows? Well, it looks good from the backside. Pretty straightforward from the backside, but the tail of it is really about the front side. It's really about the front side and getting this rubber out from those threads. There we go. Yep. Absolutely perfect. No problems at all. No bubbles in the threads whatsoever. No bubble up here. This is why when I cast it at an angle. I cast it downward like this so that these points would be facing down. That's why this thing was here, so that they're facing down like this. When I'm pouring it, these points are facing down. That was the key. It's all about, if I had tried to pour this flat, and I see this all the time, there would have just been all kinds of bubbles on this flat surface. You can never pour stuff like this flat. You've got to pour it at an angle. That's the whole secret. It really is. It's the whole thing. It's all about orientation in space. That said, let's look at this one, because this one is by far the most complex parting line. It's got a crisscross parting line. It's got that clay up parting line in the middle in combination with a cut parting line, so it really has some interesting features. Right off the bat, I'm seeing no bubbles at all. Look at that. Okay, don't get to bragging yet. Don't get to bragging yet. We have lots of places where we could have caught bubbles. Let's see if we did. And we've got to get this thing out of there without tearing the mold. So we are not going to get to bragging just yet. Come on, baby. And this is tricky to get it out of there, boy. This is not going to want to come on its own. It's going to want to fight me. Yep, it is fighting me, but this is why I let this thing sit in the mold longer, because I knew it would fight me. Oh, yeah, look at that. Okay. All right, I'm going to report one. Can you see it? Can you see it? I'm going to report one micro bubble right there. I did not expect to catch a bubble there. Hang on. Is that in the mold? Is that in the casting? Nope. Darn it. I was hoping I could blame the casting. So we caught a little micro bubble right there. Super simple to fix. Tiny little evidence of parting line there. Other than that, I'm going to say absolutely not a bubble in sight. Look how it picks up all the little flaws. See that little flaw right there? Now that's in the casting. But I got to tell you, I'm pretty pleased. I am pretty pleased. So let's go ahead and pull the sprues off of this boy. And this has been sitting for a while, so these are rock hard. These are not fresh out of the mold. Let's cut them off. I'm just going to use a little jeweler's saw, which works just fine for the job. As you can see, cuts them easy and quick. Okay. Now you can do this with any number of tools, but this works fine. Also works just as well for larger things. Obviously, if you have a bandsaw or some other power saw, it's going to be faster than doing it with a jeweler's saw, and you can get more aggressive blades for jeweler's saws, but you don't really need power tools. You can do it just as well with hand tools. It just takes you a little longer. That's the only difference. Make sure I'm heading in the right direction. I am. Let's pop this off. Good. And of course, you can always just use good old X-Acto. So now I have quite a bit to chop off here. And the easiest way to do that is to go over to a sander, a belt sander, and clean that off. And that's what I'm going to do. But you can also do it. You're cleaning just with a regular old sandpaper. Sheet of sandpaper. I have this little knobbing back here. Here's a handy tip. Take a pencil and write on your part. The reason you do that is so you can see whether or not you're sanding off the pencil marks. If you only want to sand off just the tab, just this part, you can do that. Just using the pencil mark tells you whether or not you're sanding on the part itself, when really you just want to get the tab off. Again, I would tend to do this on a belt sander because it's fast, but it works just as well to do it on a flat surface. You just take it down till you're done. Okay, you get it. Let's sand that flat, and then we need to go through this. And I usually just like to whittle the parts down to size with a knife. That's how I basically do it. Just sit there and whittle away. This job is much, much easier when the resin is fresh. But it can be done at any time. Doesn't matter. Just takes a little extra time and effort to do it once it's the resin is rock hard. And you guys know me, I like doing things the easy way. Always. It's just easier. Do things the easy and simple way. And then, once you get it whittled down, sanding. A little whittling and sanding. And that's how you clean stuff up. You can appreciate why I am so insane about parting lines and sprues and bubbles and all of the defects that this process introduces into the castings. I want clean castings to come out of the mold because I got to tell you, I'm not a big fan of this process. I'm not a big fan of cleaning stuff up. I'm not a big fan of sanding, whittling, carving, cleaning, especially if I have to make 500 of these and I got to do this process 500 times. No, I don't want to do it. I want to reduce the post-casting work to the absolute minimum possible. Okay, I'm going to go through, clean these up, and we'll get them, and I'll come back to you when they're all nice and clean. Okay, I got these parts cleaned up pretty nice, not bad, and looking good. Now, the real test is this going to fit? Got these parts pretty well cleaned up. Let's see if these two should fit together. These two are supposed to fit together. Let's see if they do. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Beautiful. Fits like a champ. Screwed together nice. Perfect. This part cleaned up really nice. No worries. Everything's looking good. I'm really pleased with the way these parts came out. I'm going to rate this project a success. Hey, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, hit that like button. It really is the best thing you can do for the channel. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next week.